Hey, welcome back guys. Matt here from myrawintuition.com. Hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I want to talk to you about the untimely passing of Dr. Robert Lockhart, one of the true pioneers and inspirations in this lifestyle to so many people. 40 plus years eating a raw fruitarian diet and living healthfully into his later years up until essentially he passed at the age of 75 due to some unfortunate circumstances that I will touch on slightly. I do not know all the details, and there is a lot of speculation and rumors going around about exactly why this happened. And so I just want to give you guys a little bit of insight from my point of view to just bring the focus back to all the positives that Dr. Lockhart provided to this community, using his body to experiment and to really show us how to live healthfully as long as possible. He died at the age of 75 and literally looked like he was in his 50s. So there is definitely something to his lifestyle practices that we can all learn from, and that is what I want to talk to you about in this video.
You can alter the outcome of your life in so many ways. I didn't come to realize this until I'd been into a vegan type of lifestyle for many years, and I thought that animals were used by humans as a matter of right because we're above the animals on the food chain and that sort of thing. But when you come to realize that they are sentient beings too, they have feelings, they have love for their families, and they have love for their little ones. You know, how do you destroy that so wantonly? And when you start to upgrade your vibrational way of thinking, you think your whole thinking can change so radically. And that's what we have got to see as the element of consciousness that's going to take place with more and more people becoming plant-based and raw vegan and upgrading their thoughts.
So that was an interview that I had the opportunity to have with Dr. Lockhart a couple years back, and I really enjoyed that interview. I'm going to put a link in the description box below if you want to check it out. Clearly an intelligent guy, fit, active, strong, and he was dedicated to his craft. You know, he had 2 fruit orchards, one in northern Australia and one in the Philippines, and he would travel back and forth, and he was you know, dedicated to creating a sustainable food forest and for people to enjoy. I never actually had the chance to meet him in person. I didn't actually know him all that well, but from what I did see on social media, you know, a really great guy. People loved him, and he was inspiring so many people, especially in this little community that we have about healthy living. So I wrote down some notes here so that I could kind of stay on topic here. I want to go through some of the events that we know of. Again, I don't know all the details, and so some of this is going to be speculation. I'm just going to give a little bit of what I think about what happened here, but I know there are videos out there that people are using this information to push an agenda, to, you know, whether it be from non-vegan or vegan sources. I've been really disappointed to see the response and the reaction that some people are putting out there. So I want to keep this pretty short and to the point, and just give a little bit of my insights to, you know, just pay some respect to a man that did a lot for this community. So he passed at the age of 75 here in just late November. He was a raw foodist for 40 plus years. He was a chiropractor for 40 plus years, and until that point of him passing, until the point where he got sick, he was very healthy and active, and, you know, tending to his fruit orchard. He could walk on his hands still very, well. And he was, planting trees, climbing trees, getting fruits, all that stuff. He was doing physical labor, and not a lot of 75-year-olds could say that they could do what Robert was doing, up until he passed. So that is impressive in itself. Personally, I think he looked like he was in his 50s. He had vitality. He was still very mobile. He was flexible. He still had a very sharp mind. All those things that we all hope to have when we reach our 70s and beyond. So, very impressive, the level of health that Dr. Lockhart maintained up until the age of 75. So going through kind of the timeline, his family had put out a statement giving a little clarification on what happened. And so I took some of that information. I'm going to go over it, and then I've also got some additional research that I did on the bacterial infection that ended up taking his life, essentially. So it was provided that 10 years ago, Robert started to significantly reduce his water intake to just maybe small amounts of coconut water or fruit or vegetable juice here and there, but mainly he got all of his hydration from his diet, from the fruits and vegetables that he would eat. Now, in my interview with Robert, he mentioned that he eats about 2 fruit meals per day, and he will do intermittent dry fasting daily and do 1 40-hour dry fast weekly. So that is a lot of dry fasting. Again, he was going by what he felt was right, and clearly he wouldn't have done it if he didn't believe that it was helping him. So fast forward to 5 years ago, and this is when the family is saying that Robert started to do his extended dry fasting. They say up to 48 hours, and I don't know exactly how often they're saying that he was doing this. Like I said, back when I interviewed him just a couple years ago, he said that he was doing 1 40-hour dry fast per week. And then again, the intermittent fasting for 19 hours a day with a 5-hour eating window. So then fast forward up to November of this year, 2019, Robert started to come down with a bad cough, which he had a lot of phlegm and mucus and maybe fluid in his lungs. I don't know exactly how long he went with this condition either, but it ended up leading him to try a 72-hour dry fast to try and get rid of this cough. Now, that did not get rid of the cough. He ended up, in the subsequent week or weeks, he was starting to decline even further. And so at the request of his family, they say that he reluctantly went to the hospital for testing and treatment. So when he got to the hospital, they ended up finding out that he contracted a bacterial infection that is common in tropical climates. It's called Melioidosis. So this bacterial infection is a very serious infection that I haven't heard anybody talking about this situation mention how serious of an infection this is. I did some research on it today and found out that overall it has a mortality rate of 40%. So this is a deadly bacterial infection. The treatment for this is 3 to 6 months of antibiotics, and it has after you finish that, there's another, basically a preventative round of treatment for another few months. So it's a pretty intensive treatment to try and get rid of this infection, and a lot of times that doesn't even work. So again, it is found mostly in South Asia, Northern Australia, in contaminated soil and water. And there's 3 ways that it can be contracted. So it can come in through inhalation, through breathing in dust and particles in the air that contain the bacteria. You can also get it into your body through ingestion, through drinking contaminated water. And then you can also get it through your skin if you have any sort of cuts or wounds, and the bacteria gets onto those wounds, that it can get into your blood. So it turns out that Robert was in high-risk situations the majority of the time. Anytime he was out in those fruit orchards, digging up soil, planting fruit trees, getting on his hands and knees, possibly barefoot, he easily could have scraped or nicked his skin, allowing the bacteria to get in that way. And also just the process of digging up the soil would have allowed him to breathe in those microbes. Actually, I read that the helicopter teams from the US military, when they went over to the Vietnam War, those helicopter teams are the soldiers that came back to the US with this condition, because the helicopter blades, as they would spin, it would blow up all the dust and the dirt from the ground, and those soldiers would breathe in that dust, and that is how they contracted this melioidosis. And so it is a very serious condition. You don't have to have a weakened immune system for it to affect you. Like I said, the incubation period is from days to years. So it could take hold, any time over a period of years. And so it just takes somebody to have one, point of vulnerability, and it could take hold. So that is something to consider. Another factor that could have contributed to the severity of Robert's condition is the time of year that he contracted the infection. I read that during the wet and monsoon seasons is when the bacteria that cause melioidosis are more diverse, and when you take in a higher bacterial load of these bacteria, it makes the condition more intensified and harder to get over. So we don't know when he contracted this and how strong, how much of the bacterial load he took in. And so that is just another factor that could play into all this. And what we do know is that melioidosis is known to cause lesions on various organs in the body, including the kidneys. Now, the doctors said they found scarring and atrophy in Robert's kidneys. They attributed this to the years of intermittent fasting and dehydration. I can see how dehydration could have contributed to this. We just don't know, though. We don't know how much was dehydration. We don't know how much was the melioidosis. There's so many different factors that could have contributed to that it's hard to just pinpoint it on one thing. So, I think it's just important to realize all the different factors that went into this. Some people have said that he passed away during a dry fast. It was not. It was many weeks after the dry fast. Remember, he spent 2.5 weeks or something like that in the hospital's care, and it is well known that when you go in to a hospital to stay, you increase your risk of death. That is just undeniable. There's a lot of different things that could have contributed, and I think it's important that we don't make assumptions when we don't have all the information. Of course, people are going to speculate. They're going to put their opinions out there. I'm putting my opinion out there, but none of us truly know for sure what happened, what caused this, how many factors there were contributing to it. So to honor Robert and to pay him the respect he deserves, I think it's important that we focus on taking the positives out of this situation and learning from the example that he's given us. So one, regardless if this was due to dehydration or not, I think reminding ourselves of the importance of hydration. Hydration is essential for all systems of the body, including elimination, including the immune system. So keeping our hydration levels adequate is very important. Two, I think, just cherishing life And, you know, understanding that nobody is invincible regardless of how perfect their diet or lifestyle is. We just have to do the best we can to give ourselves the best shot at having a long, healthy life. I think that is what Robert did, and I think that is what we should take from this. You know, he was healthy and active up until this happened, and I think that is how everybody would like their life to be. So, you know, having a healthy diet and holistic lifestyle is essential. Plenty of raw fruits and vegetables, you know, be active, get outside in nature, you know, do things that you love to do, you know, be of service. You know, all these things help to create a holistic, healthy lifestyle. And I think that is exactly what Robert stood for. And 3 is that fasting is a serious practice and it should not be taken lightly. You should always do your due diligence before starting any sort of fasting practice. You know, Robert was as educated about it as probably any of us. And, you know, I think he would want us to take from this that fasting should be done only when you are truly educated on the topic and you are comfortable with starting. So, you know, again, I think, you know, Robert was a great gift to this community, to the world, to, you know, just anybody that came in contact with him, and he will surely be missed by so many people. But we will continue to, you know, live the practices that he taught with a holistic, healthy lifestyle, and, you know, we'll all be better for it. So I hope you guys have a great night, and I will catch you in the next video. Always follow your raw intuition.
Detoxify your mind and body. Be the change you want to see. Small steps towards living better. Small steps to where I want to be.